I will tell you that, just a little fun story on this. The publisher reached out to me, Source Books, and they're owned by Penguin Random House. And they said, hey, I had written a first book, like, do you have a second book? I'm like, yes, I do. They said, do you realize there's no books out there on being child-free and your money? I'm like, yeah. They said, how many people out there are child-free? I said, about 25% of the US. Depending on how you look at data, it's about somewhere around there. She says, okay, so there's 25% of the US that are child-free and there's no book for them. And everybody in the room was like, uh-huh. And the publisher's like, why? I don't know. Nobody's ever looked at it. So we're trying to build this. And what we're trying to do, by the way, I'm trying to spend my time talking to financial people about how do we work with child-free people, because I can't serve everybody. Like, seriously. There's 25% of the US are child-free and permanently childless. We need to figure out how to do that. We need to figure out as a community how to support each other. So for everybody that has the book, everybody has something coming out, share. The number one thing you can do for an author that helps them, buy their book on pre-sale. I'm not just saying that because I'm selling a book. If anyone out there has a book on child-free, childless, they announce it, go buy it on pre-sale. All of those sales count for the day they come out. That's what gets them on the bestseller list. That's what gets people to recognize our community. That's what builds noise. We need to figure out ways to support each other. We need to figure out how to have an amazing life. To me, it's just cool that I get to be here.
Welcome to the Child-Free Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, Certified Financial Planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
So Katie talked about being nervous. That's me. Because she said, come to my summit. You'll probably be the only guy here. I think I saw there's like 3 others, so we exist. But I spend my time, half of it talking to child-free and permanently childless folks about their life and money, and the other half talking to financial folks about child-free and childless folks. And I gotta tell you a little story, and this isn't on my script, and I'm gonna get in trouble for going off, but that's okay. When I go to these financial conferences, the way we say it is they're old, male, pale, and stale. Okay? It's all old white men. I'm 46, I'm the youngest one in the group. And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, like, that really is. And I'll talk about how being child-free impacts your life and finances, and they've come to the conclusion that I'm the child-free guy. And that comes with good, bad, and ugly. I went to get some software once. I said, hey, I like your software. They said, who do you serve? I said, child-free folks. He goes, oh, so you hate kids. I had another one. I was at a conference. Guy's up here speaking from one of the big organizations. He says, working with people without kids is the worst. I was like, are you kidding me? I went to the conference. I said, hey, you've got this whole thing on diversity and inclusion in here, and this person just said this. And they said, oh, well, he should have worded it differently. And I said to him, wait a minute. If he had stood up there and said, working with women is the worst, the whole conference would have shut down. They said, yeah, but. So I'm the child-free guy in the child-free community, in the financial community. So this morning, I'm coming in and I'm sitting over there doing the intros. Person sitting at the table next to me kind of looks at things and looks at what's going on. Says, oh, you're the money guy. Okay, I'd like to be the life and money guy, but I sat there for about half an hour thinking, because I'm a little introspective. I was like, well, I like being the money guy more than being the child-free guy. Maybe I am in a group that gets me. And that's important. You know, we kind of look at this stuff and go, you know, the way I set up my company, it's called Childfree Wealth. I do 2 taboo things at once. Talk about being child-free and talk about money. When I was doing research for my book, I actually found people would rather talk about their sex life than their money. Not exaggerating at all. So we need to make sure our life and our money reflects us. Now, Katie said, come speak, and I said, great. She said, how long would it take? I said, 8 to 12 hours. I mean, I've literally written the book on it, so, there it goes. I've literally written the book on it, so literally it's there. And she said, well, how about 20 minutes? And I said, oh, okay. So we'll find a way to fit this all in there. And what we're gonna talk about is the bottom part of this book is Make your finances simple so your life without kids can be amazing. Okay? What happens is people reach out to me and they go, well, when can I retire? And I say, well, do you want to retire? They said, no. Well, then why are you asking me when you can retire? You see, there's all these things we're expected to do. We call it the standard life script. The standard life script says you go to school, you get married, you have kids, all that. It's the American dream even. 2.5 kids, the house, the white picket fence. All of that's built into the financial systems, and it doesn't fit us. Now, I say us. I use the term child-free. That's the one me and my wife use. We've been married 15 years this month. Wow, I'm getting old. And when we're first dating, she told me, hey, FYI, I got a 50-50 chance of dying if I get pregnant. And I was like, all right, so no kids? And I had a reporter once ask me, he said, well, would you have changed your answer, if you met somebody else? I'm like, I don't know, that was like 20 years ago. Different world. So I use the word child-free, but are we by choice? I don't know. Katie said she worked with me, and we tried actually working on these terms, and we realized if we called the firm people who don't have kids and aren't planning on having kids wealth, that would be too long of a domain name. So child-free it is. So we're gonna do a little exercise. In your handout, your packet, there's a handout. My background, my PhD is in adult learning. I come out of the education side. I'm actually not a financial guy by trade. So you've got to have a handout, and by the way, you're gonna have homework at the end. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a little exercise. And this is gonna be one we're gonna move quick. The first step, I want you all to close your eyes. Put the paperwork down, close your eyes. And I can see if your eyes are closed or not. So close your eyes. Just gonna do a moment here. I want you to imagine what an amazing life looks like to you. What would you do if finance didn't matter? What would you do if your job didn't matter? What would an amazing life look to you? Now, grab that piece of paper and write down 1, 2, maybe 3 things max that would be in your amazing life. If you're an artist, you can draw a picture of it. I had somebody do this. That's pretty cool. They drew a picture of their amazing life. I'm not that good at art. Now, here comes the hard part. Here's the quiz. Scale of 0 to 10. I want you to put a score up top. It says your amazing life score. 10 means you are living your most amazing life today. Whatever you drew, whatever you wrote, you are there. 1 is, I am nowhere near. Now, we got to balance that with your work and finances. So here's what we're going to do here. A little different exercise. Close your eyes again. Close your eyes. Think about the things that worry or concern you about your work or finances. Listen, I know what these are. I've heard it. People have shame around money. You shouldn't. I've made more mistakes with money than you ever have. I made my first $1 million by the time I was 21 and spent by the time I was 25. If you can beat that, please let me know. But I want you to take a moment, open your eyes, write down 2, 3 things that worry you about your life, about your finances, and your work. For some people, these are the things that keep you up at night. And then we're going to add a score. The score here is how simple your finances are. 1 means I don't even have to worry about my finances at all. It does its own thing. I don't worry about work. I don't do that. Cool. 10 is I can't sleep because I'm worried about my finances. I'm worried about am I doing it right or whatever it may be. Okay, here's what's going on. I'm a bit of a nerd. Oop, there you go. And my background is actually in cognitive psychology, and there's a lot of work on what they call cognitive load. How much your brain can handle. We've all had those moments where I just can't think anymore. There are times when I get home and I can't even turn on Netflix to watch it. You've all been there. But we all have a certain amount of ability to handle things. And when life goes crazy, we really can't think about anything. When work goes crazy, we can't think about anything. We can't find time in our brains to do these things. Now, if your finances are not simple, if they're keeping you up at night, it's starting this tug of war. Now, I'm a dog fan, so that's why I use dogs. You can have 2 dogs in your brain if that works for you. One side is how simple your finances are. The other side is your amazing life. If you're spending 70% of your time, 70% of your cognitive load thinking about your finances, that only means you have 30% of your time to enjoy your life. Now, I'm not judging what your amazing life is, but you need to figure out what's the priority. Somebody give me one example of what, over here, I'm gonna pick this table because I'm standing. It's like comedians, you don't sit in the front row because they're gonna pick on you. Give me one thing, anyone, of your amazing life that you'd like to do.
Travel with my husband.
Travel. Specifically with her husband versus alone, that's a separate question, you know. Travel. Somebody else?
Charity.
Charity. Good. Over here. Volunteer?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's your amazing life? What's one of the things you'd like to do with your amazing life? Retire. Why? Well, now, she just gave me the one. So retire. When people say they want to retire, most people know what they want to retire from, what they want to stop doing. What do you want to retire to?
I just able to retire.
Okay, she said, I know I'm 2.5 years past retirement age. Now, by the way, interestingly enough, age is the least important thing in your retirement plan. But I'm 2.5 years past retirement age, and I want to have the choice not to work. That's different. We, by the way, in the child-free wealth community, we look at it as we call it FILE, financial independence, live early. You get to dial back work. You get to choose not to work. See, here's the thing. You have the ability to live your amazing life if we can simplify your finances so you have space to do this. And what happens is I get folks all the time call me and say, well, I'm 40, 50, 60, pick an age, and I'm behind. I'm like, behind who? Because here's the thing, you read the article, it says by age 40 you have to have this, age 50 you have this, age 60. That is all for people with 2.5 kids, the white picket fence, the house, all that. It's not for us. And people say, well, I'm behind. I'm like, what's the race? The race is, how do I get more out of my life? How do I spend time on the amazing side? And the way we do that is we simplify finances. Let me give an example of this. My goal with your finances is not to get you the most money, because most child-free folks, childless, say giving money to the next generation is the #1 priority. My nephews get what's left over. If they get 10,000 or 100,000, I'm good with that. If they get $1 million, I made a mistake because I probably should have helped them throughout their life. I should probably give it to charity. I should have done something with it. So making more money isn't necessarily going to make you happier. It's also not going to make you feel more comfortable with your money. And people, well, if I hit this number, I'll just feel comfortable with money. No. The general rule in finance is 80% of your success in finance, your behaviors, your mental models, your way of thinking of finance. It's not the numbers. Now, one caution on that. When you're in rent and ramen phase, which means you're just making enough to pay for rent and ramen, you need to make more money. But what happens, we all live like we're still in rent and ramen at times. Like, hey, if I don't get this check, next thing you know, it's going to come to an end. So we need to simplify things. And we need to make sure our finances reflect us. Because if you go out there and you go, hey, I want to learn how to do finances, every single system assumes you have kids. My work, when I got into this, I started to become a certified financial planner. That's kind of the certification. There was never once a mention in any of the education about living a life without kids. Just doesn't exist. And by the way, it's built into the software. The software says you've got to follow the standard life plan. You've got to follow the standard life script. You've got to save for the next generation. You've got to save for college. You've got to do all these things. We don't. We have a choice. We get to choose what's important to us. So here's what I want you to do from your financial standpoint. I want you to look at everything and say, does it make my finances more simple? And does it make my life more amazing? And I'll give you an example. So I have people reach out to me and go, I want to do rental properties because I've seen you can make money on real estate. Well, if you want to travel forever, having a whole bunch of rentals and having to worry about the hot water heater blowing while you're in the middle of Spain is not what you want to be doing. Okay? Rentals do not make your finances more simple. And nobody has ever told me being a landlord makes your life more amazing. I'm just calling it out. So, we need to think about how being child-free or permanently childless changes our finances and our system. So, the first thing is, making more money doesn't make you happy. I hate to say that, but it's true. Building up a bigger bank account does not help you, does not make you more secure. You need to have a plan for it. And your plan needs to match you. What happens, and we call it living a life of child-free wealth, means you have time, money, and freedom to do what you enjoy. That does not mean you're rich. So for my first book, Portia Child-Free Wealth, I interviewed somebody, and her goal for the year was she had moved from an air mattress to a regular bed. And that was a huge success for her. See, people think, well, you don't have kids, you don't have to pay for all this stuff. Well, no, there's no check that comes out of the sky and makes you like rich when you choose not to have a kid or not by choice. I mean, like, it just doesn't. So you need to make sure you are putting your stuff towards what matters to you. And if you're gonna die with zero, that's a technical term for I don't care how much I give on to the next generation, it changed your plan. So let's use the retirement example. Retirement, there's these general rules. They say, well, you have to have 25 times your expenses in order to be able to retire. Well, that assumes you want to keep the money and pass it on to another generation. Now, if you want to do charity, you're better off doing charity while you're alive because you get tax breaks than when you're dead. Okay? The reality check, okay? I don't want to pay IRS more money than I have to. Anyone here want to volunteer to pay more of your taxes? By the way, there actually is a form from the government to send them gifts. I don't know that anyone actually does that, but there is a form. It's the government. They have a form for everything. So if passing on money to the next generation is not a goal, instead, how do you spend that money to live, give, and enjoy, and have an awesome life? I spend more time with my clients talking about spending money than saving money. See, there's an assumption, like you talk to a financial planner, they're gonna go, well, your savings rate is 23.2%, it should be 25. Forget it. We need to start spending money. And I'm not gonna call you out in this room, but let's just test this out. Some of you in here are doing what we call mindlessly saving. You're just putting money away and putting money away because you're trained that way. Like that's what your family taught you. To the point where you have what we call the blueberry problem, which is you're buying the frozen blueberries because they're $1 cheaper than the fresh blueberries. Just buy the damn blueberries. You'll be fine. But these are all the things that are in our head. We did a podcast recently this week talk about head trash. The stuff that's in our head that says we must. Well, that same thing, is telling us you must live this life. You've gone on a different script. You do not have to follow that. So, we can die with zero. You can look at it and say, do I want to retire? Most child-free folks that I've worked with have said, I want to cut back on work. I want to do something different. I want to open a cupcake shop. I want to go be a librarian. I don't know why librarians are popular, but for some reason, a lot of people want to go be librarians. Right now in the political climate, not sure you want to be a librarian, but that's a separate discussion. But we can do that. We call it FILE, Finish Parents Live Early. If you're in a couple, we have an approach we call the gardener in the rows, where one's growing, one's providing support. My wife and I embrace this. My wife got offered a job, it was 1,200 miles away. We packed up the dog, cats, and went in the car and went. We can do that. Now, I will say, by the way, you got to see 2 Mastiffs in the back of a Prius. People would be driving by us on the highway like, what the? It was entertaining. And the one also that I have to throw out there is the plan for long-term care. Everybody freaks out about who's going to take care of when they're older. I hate this question, but I love it. I hate it because when somebody says, you don't have kids, who's going to take care when you're older? They're making assumptions that somebody's going to take care of them. Let me give you the data. U.S. Census, adults over 55, look at childless adults, they defined as no biological children. 2.5% of adults, childless, got any financial support from their family. Now, same population, adults over 55. They looked at parents. 1.5% got any support from their family. Guess what? We know we got to take care of it. Everybody's got an issue with this. So we do have to plan for it. This is all things that go there. Now, if you're working with a financial planner, cool. I want you to ask them, how are your plans different because you're child-free or permanently childless? If they say they're not different, walk out. If they say, and I've had people get this one, you'll change your mind, walk out. If they say, I don't know, I'm okay with that. Because it does change things. Now, we have a guide for this. Anybody here ever heard of Dave Ramsey? I didn't say you have to like him, but if you heard of him. So Dave Ramsey has the 7 baby steps. We decided instead to go with the 8 no baby steps. Step 1, 2, and 3 look a lot like what Dave Ramsey would say: get out of debt, get on a budget, have an emergency fund, cool. By the way, that slide did not come over, right? childfreewealth.com/steps. We actually have a free course on that. So that's the first three. Get out of debt. Why do we say get out of debt? Because when you're out of debt, you can do anything you want with your money. You want to travel? Cool. You want to give charity? Cool. Number 4 is where things change. We say save and invest towards your goals. I don't know what those are. Now, this is one of those things where I'll have a conversation with a client. I'm like, hey, what are your goals? They go, I don't know. And I'll ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. You need to figure that out before you figure out your financial plan. Because if retirement's not the goal, then don't save for retirement. If you don't really want to do all the work of maintaining a house and you want to travel the world, do it. The editor for my book, her and her dog lived in a different Airbnb each month and traveled the country. That's cool. I couldn't do it, but that's cool. You need your money to go towards your goals and the life you want to live. Simple finances. We do simple investing, 3-fund portfolios, set it, forget it. You don't have to think about your finances. My goal is that you think about your finances like twice a year. You look at it twice a year and go, yep, the numbers are still there. That's it. I don't want you thinking about your finances. We get to number 5, which is get your insurance right. By the way, child-free, childless folks, we don't need life insurance. Because if nobody's counting on you for your salary, we can skip it. We get sold it because that's where they make their commission. What we do need, though, is disability insurance. What happens to get injured? We also need a plan for long-term care. My goal for long-term care, folks, by the time you hit about mid-40s, I want to have a plan for long-term care in place. That's either money or insurance policy. It is stupidly expensive. But if you don't have a plan, the government's going to do it for you. And anyone trusts the government to make your financial decisions or medical decisions. All right. Then we get into estate planning. Now, if you do not currently have a financial power of attorney, a medical power of attorney, and a will in place, that is your homework. Because here's the thing. Government and healthcare systems all look for next of kin. That's a problem. We need to have the paperwork in place. The other problem we come into is who's actually going to make the decisions for us. I have spent 2 years working on this problem. It has literally kept me up at night of who can make decisions for us. Well, if you're from California or Arizona, you can get what's called a professional fiduciary to cover it for you. If you're from Georgia, there's one attorney that'll handle it for you. For the rest of us, good luck. Now, we're working with a trust company. We think we'll have a solution coming up at the end of the year. So we'll actually be able to serve as people's power of attorney executors. So we'll actually be able to go through your entire life and literally bury you. It's a huge worry that we all need to have an answer for. Number 7, plan for mom and dad. My mom's been disabled since about 16. I spent a lot of time helping her. We're all there. We get what I call the child-free financial bingo, which is you don't have kids, so you can take care of mom. Really? Thanks. You need to have a plan. You need to set boundaries. You need to have a set for money. Last step on the no baby steps is die with zero, which is a different way of thinking about money. How do I spend and give my money throughout my life that gives a benefit to me and the causes I care about? What's the charity you want to give to? Alzheimer's Association. By the way, that goes back to estate planning too, and long-term care, and like a few of those others. They need the money now. They'll take it when you die. I mean, let's be real. You want to see something interesting? You want to see people who understand the child-free population? Go to philanthropic organizations. They know we have money and we give. They're one of the few that are actually targeting us and saying, hey, please put me in your will. But you can make an impact now. I have folks that say, all right, I'm going to give to the Alzheimer's Association. I'm going to go be on their board. I'm going to help them. I'm going to keep working through where you can have an awesome life with your money. It doesn't have to just sit there and then get passed on. You can make different decisions. Now, we use these 8 no baby steps to do one thing, make your finances simple. We run people through the whole process. We have a whole detailed thing to do this. We have people called Childfree Wealth Specialists to help you through this. But our goal is when you get to the end, you're like, I don't think about my money. Anyone here, would you be happy if you didn't have to think about money? Yeah. By the way, if anyone wants to get up all night and think about money, I have job openings. You can help people do that because that is the reality check. I'm in the financial world. I don't want to think about my money either. All right? So here's what's going to happen. On that sheet, there's something, and we're going to put in the homework, or you don't have to fill it right now. It says, what 3 things can you do now to simplify your finances so you can live an amazing life? The other one I have there is who can hold you accountable to that. For the soloists, single, no kids, you need a partner, that doesn't mean literally a partner, a financial partner to kind of keep you both in a good place. There's a study actually just came out on soloists, single, no kids. They call it the solo tax or the single tax is between $400,000 and $1 million across your life is what it costs you to live alone. You can't break up rent, you can't break up things. You need someone to hold you accountable. So you're gonna make a list of 3 things you can do. You're gonna go and somebody's gonna hold you accountable. So, simplify your work and finances. We'll come back to actually quitting your job. Our top downloaded episode, we got the Childfree Wealth podcast, is I will make you quit your job because I make so many people do it. If you're working a job, you're like, hey, I make $100,000. I'm like, yes, but you're miserable. So what you just told me is for $100,000, you're willing to be miserable. I'm gonna tell you to quit your job. You can do it. And find a way to hold each other accountable. I have in there a link to the website. I also have appointments set up for a few of you already. Somebody already asked me, hey, where are we meeting? We're gonna go out there where the desk was we checked in. It was outside, but the buses get a little stinky. But we'll go out there. I also have a couple spots I opened on Sunday at the beach. So if you have nothing better to do than on Sunday to talk about your life and finances, I happen to enjoy this stuff. I geek out on it. Like seriously, it's sad to say amazing life to me is sitting on the beach talking about life and finances. My point is, if nothing else you got out of this was, you are different. Your financial plan needs to match you, and it needs to get you to your amazing life. You can do another exercise. We don't have time for this one, but you can do it at home. You take your list of amazing life things you're doing and look at the percentage of your money that's going to that now. There's actually a really interesting math equation between the money you have and is it going to your values. So you want to travel. Well, how much time do you want to travel? Most of the time. Guess where most of my money should be going? It sounds silly, but that is actually the answer. If most of your money is going to something you don't care about, why are you working? Right? We can work through this. We have the choice to do whatever we want. The problem is that can actually be a little too many choices. We actually run a thing we call the Childfree midlife crisis. You get your personal, professional, financial goals, and you're like, now what? And the answer is whatever you want. And they go, but what do I want? I don't know. See, the thing is, the 18-year-old version of us made decisions that we're still following now. The 18-year-old version of us was living a different life than we're living now. You need to recenter your stuff. You need to make it match you. Now, because I'm here and because I paid for it, I will plug the book. The Childfree Guide Life Money comes out December 30th. This is the one copy that exists in the world right now. If any of you happen to work, like you want to be a librarian, you want to get in their library, that's awesome. I will tell you that, just a little fun story on this. The publisher reached out to me, Source Books, and they're owned by Penguin Random House. And they said, hey, I had written a first book, like, do you have a second book? I'm like, yes, I do. They said, do you realize there's no books out there on being child-free and your money? I'm like, yeah. They said, how many people out there are child-free? I said, about 25% of the US. Depending on how you look at data, it's about somewhere around there. She says, okay, so there's 25% of the US that are child-free and there's no book for them. And everybody in the room is like, uh-huh. And the publisher's like, why? I don't know. Nobody's ever looked at it. So we're trying to build this. And what we're trying to do, by the way, I'm trying to spend my time talking to financial people about how do we work with child-free people, because I can't serve everybody. Like seriously, there's 25% of the US are child-free and permanently childless. We need to figure out how to do that. We need to figure out as a community how to support each other. So for everybody that has the book, everybody has something coming out, share. The number one thing you can do for an author that helps them, buy their book on pre-sale. I'm not just saying that because I'm selling a book. If anyone out there has a book on child-free, childless, they announce it, go buy it on pre-sale. All of those sales count for the day they come out. That's what gets them on the bestseller list. That's what gets people recognize our community. That's what builds noise. We need to figure out ways to support each other. We need to figure out how to have an amazing life. To me, it's just cool that I get to be here. I also have to say one thing on Katie. She said, hey, she got to work with me. We all here owe a lot to Katie. I just say, and I do, but I'm just going to talk for you while I'm at it. She taught me more about the childless community than I ever could know. She also happened to be in, we did 100 videos for our course. We have an academy. She was in all of them. She did the framework for a lot of stuff. She doesn't give herself credit. But she was the one asking me questions like, well, what about this? I'm like, I don't know. And I would go and research that and walk that through. She does not give herself enough credit. This thing was amazing for her to put on. If y'all just do me a favor, when we get done with this, just go up and thank her. Like, seriously, it'll embarrass the living daylights out of her, but that's okay. Thank you, Katie, and I appreciate you having me here.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Follow Childfree Wealth on social media or email us at podcast@childfreewealth.com. If you're interested in working together, learn more by visiting our website, www.childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.